The world is not a field of flowers, it is an invisible battlefield, and those who still believe that winning depends only on virtue are doomed to serve those who understood the rules of the game. In this arena disguised as civilized society, justice is a comfortable myth created to keep dreamers distracted. While some wait for recognition to come as a reward for effort, others shape perceptions, control narratives, and reap power. The difference between the two is not talent. It is awareness. Awareness that everything around us is manipulation, dispute, and strategy. Those who ignore this psychological war are reduced to extras in the script of those who learn to play. I myself took years to understand this. I grew up believing that integrity was enough, that it was sufficient to be good to be valued. But the world does not reward purity. It rewards control. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He observed kings and traitors, courts full of false smiles and daggers hidden under the table. He realized that power does not belong to the most just, but to the most lucid, to those who see human beings not as angels or demons, but as creatures driven by fear, vanity, and desire. And it was in this emotional labyrinth that he discovered the truth that few can still bear to hear. Those who dominate the mind dominate destiny. Most people want to be loved. They want to be accepted. They want to be seen as right. But this need is a prison. It makes you predictable, vulnerable, and manipulable. The strategist does not seek love. He seeks influence. He understands that love is unstable, but respect is solid. Love changes with the flavor of emotions. Respect is built with perception and strength. And that is why the most powerful are feared before they are admired. See the pattern. Those who lead are not necessarily the most talented. They are the ones who project authority. They are the ones who decide quickly, speak little, and never show desperation. When they fail, they turn the error into a lesson. When they are attacked, they use the attack as proof of relevance. The weak try to explain. The strong redefine the meaning. This is the difference between being judged and being remembered. For a long time, I played the game of justice. I followed rules that no one else did. I was loyal to those who saw me as a disposable resource. I waited for recognition from people who only respect those who do not need it, until I understood that the world does not reward those who wait. It rewards those who take, and when that penny dropped, everything changed. I stopped asking for permission. I started acting. Machiavelli would call this awakening, the perception that virtue without strategy is a trap. He wrote, "He who desires to be good in all things will perish among so many who are not." He did not advocate evil. He advocated realism. Being ruthless in his view is recognizing that life is a chessboard and every move has cost and consequence. It is stopping being a piece and becoming a player. But there is a detail that the naive ignore. Power is not conquered only by force. It is conquered by reading people, reading intentions, reading silences. Those who master human reading always walk one step ahead. They perceive hesitation, fear, vanity, and they use each of these elements as a tool. While others react, they plan. While others shout, they observe. While others take offense, they calculate. This coldness is not absence of emotion. It is mastery over it. The weak feel anger and explode. The strong feel anger and turn it into strategy. The weak want to prove worth. The strong make worth evident without saying a word. The dominant mind is a fortress. No provocation reaches it, because they understand that the other's emotion is a window. When someone tries to offend them, they reveal their own weak point, and the strategist smiles, because every attack is information. Most do not understand the power of silence. They think winning is shouting louder, justifying faster, rebutting everything. But silence is the language of those who need to prove nothing. It embarrasses, disarms, and creates mystery. The truly ruthless do not warn. They observe, they wait, and when they act, it is with surgical precision. A single action is enough to change the entire hierarchy around them. That is how I learned that presence is worth more than arguments. When you enter a room with firm posture, calm gaze, and controlled breathing, the collective unconscious reads you as authority. Before you even speak, minds have already decided your value. And that is what Machiavelli meant when he stated that men judge more by the eyes than by the hands, for all can see, but few can feel. Appearances shape reality. That is why the true strategist builds their image like an architect builds a fortress. Every gesture, every word, every absence has a function. They do not expose themselves too much because they understand that mystery generates respect. They do not explain themselves because those who explain lose ground. They do not seek approval because they know that emotional dependence is the poison of power. And make no mistake, influence is not charisma. It is strategic predictability. It is consistency. The world is drawn to those who seem to know what they are doing, even if they do not. Projected confidence creates perceived reality, and that perception generates authority. The secret is in mastering the theater of the human mind, the stage where everyone believes they are being authentic, when in fact they are directed by impulses and fears they do not understand. Machiavelli observed this in every court he studied. He realized that kings lost thrones not for lack of armies, but for excess of emotion. That victorious generals were defeated because they wanted to be loved. And that the most enduring in power were those who understood the exact limit between kindness and strength. Those who are too good will be devoured. Those who are too cruel will be destroyed. The balance is the mastery of rational ruthlessness. And here is the most uncomfortable point of all. Justice is a convenient illusion. What you call just is merely the victory of a narrative. When one side wins, it calls its victory justice. When it loses, it calls it betrayal. History is written by the victors, and morality is shaped to justify their actions. There is no impartiality in power. There is control of interpretation. While you seek to be just, someone is shaping how your justice will be interpreted. And in the arena, interpretation is destiny. If you do not control the story about you, someone will, and they will use that story to weaken you. That is why the real war is not between swords, but between versions. The winner is not the strongest, it is the most convincing. Understand, influence is not about truth, it is about perception. You can be right and lose, you can be wrong and win. What defines who takes power is not who is right, but who seems right. This is the logic that has moved the world from Machiavelli to modern algorithms. Those who dominate perception dominate the future. When I understood this, I stopped trying to be understood. I started building the image I wanted the world to see. I stopped correcting lies and started creating stronger truths, and I realized that silence, allied with consistency, destroys any rumor. People believe what they see repeatedly. If you repeat calm, confidence, and power, the world ends up believing. And it is here that true psychological sovereignty is born. It is not about manipulating others, but about not being manipulated by them. It is understanding the mental chessboard and playing with awareness. It is stopping being a hostage to others' emotions and becoming the author of your own narrative. It is the first step for those who abandon naivety and awaken to the invisible war of power. And if you want to survive in this arena, there is one rule you cannot forget. Power does not forgive innocence. It consumes the pure, confuses the just, and rewards the prepared. Naivety may be beautiful, but it is fatal. That is why you should not blame yourself for hardening. Emotional ice is the armor of those who have learned too much from disappointments, because in the end, it is not the kindest who wins, but the most aware. But understanding the game is not enough. It takes courage to play it. Many see the rules and still go back to pretending the world is just, because the truth is too heavy. They prefer the comfort of illusion to the responsibility of awareness. They pretend not to see the manipulation around them, because it is easier to believe that destiny is a matter of luck. But luck, on the chessboard of power, is just the name the weak give to the strategy of the strong. The arena does not forgive hesitation. Those who doubt falter. Those who falter lose the right timing to act. And time in psychological warfare is the most precise weapon. A word said too early reveals weakness. A word said too late loses effect. The strategist masters the rhythm. They know when to speak, when to be silent, when to appear, and when to disappear. Control of time is control of the narrative. Machiavelli understood this clearly. He observed that power is like fire. It needs to be fed in the right measure. Excess consumes it. Lack extinguishes it. And that is why the masters of influence never expose themselves too much. They understand the value of mystery. They always leave a part hidden because the invisible fascinates. What is fully revealed becomes banal. The secret keeps respect alive. Think of the leaders who marked eras. They were not the kindest, but the most enigmatic. people who knew how to alternate presence and absence, warmth and distance. They knew how to make themselves desired through scarcity. The mistake of the naive is showing too much, talking too much, always being available. Abundance kills value, and power, like any rare good, depends on scarcity to exist. That is why learn. Silence is not absence of response. It is a tool of dominance. Silence makes others imagine, creates tension, feeds curiosity. While you justify yourself, the other analyzes you. While you are silent, the other corrodes trying to decipher. True power is not in convincing, but in making others want to understand you. And there is an element that differentiates strategists from reactives: intention. The reactive acts because they feel. The strategist acts because they decide. They choose every move based on a purpose. They do not waste energy on small offenses. Do not fight for pride. Do not spend time trying to change irrelevant opinions. They focus on what alters the balance of power. Machiavelli called this calculation. He taught that men must be either won over or destroyed, for if lightly offended, they will avenge themselves. If gravely offended, they cannot. Translating, never attack halfway. If you must act, act in a way that the other never forgets. Indecision is an invitation to disrespect. Doubt is the gap through which control escapes. And yet being ruthless does not mean being cruel, it means being lucid. It is understanding that life requires cuts, that it is not possible to please everyone, and that every choice has a price. The truly ruthless are not driven by hatred but by necessity. They understand that being loved is optional, but being respected is indispensable. And this respect is born from the balance between firmness and justice. The mistake of those who fail is confusing empathy with weakness. They think being understanding requires tolerating everything, but empathy without limits becomes submission. And submission does not generate respect, it generates contempt. The ruthless understand others, but do not bow to them. They see the motives behind human actions, but do not let themselves be dragged by emotional blackmail. The current world, like the courts Machiavelli studied, is driven by appearance and perception. Only the stage has changed. Today, crowns are digital. Arenas are social networks. Wars are fought with narratives, and the blood spilled is reputation. Those who control the image control the flow of attention, and those who control attention control value. Influence is the new throne, and in this new era, the game is even more sophisticated, because everyone believes they are protagonists, but most are just extras of those who know how to use psychology and image as weapons. Those who understand human behavior, who master emotions and guide perceptions, become invisibly powerful. They do not need to show off, because respect precedes them. The perception of strength creates strength. That is why the dominant walk calmly. Those who need to prove power demonstrate insecurity. True power is silent, and silence is interpreted as confidence. That is why when everyone shouts, the wise observe. When everyone reacts, the strategist waits. They know that hysteria is the fuel of the weak. In the field of relationships, the same principle applies. When you show desperation, you lose value. When you show need, you hand over power. People are attracted to those who seem independent, and this is not just appearance, it is energy. The energy of those who know they can be alone, and therefore are never slaves to acceptance. Respect is born from the scarcity of approval. Remember, no one respects those who explain too much. Those who try to justify everything reveal fear of being misunderstood. The strategist, on the contrary, accepts being misunderstood temporarily. They know that time always reveals the truth, and while others wear themselves out trying to prove, they advance. A solid reputation is built in silence and proven by results. Machiavelli said that men forget the death of their father more quickly than the loss of their patrimony. He understood that human nature is guided by interest, not morality. That is why the strategist does not appeal to others' kindness. They appeal to interest. They create scenarios where cooperating with them is advantageous and opposing them is costly. This is war diplomacy. This is psychological power. And the curious thing is that those who master this code stop being predictable. They come to be read as dangerous, not because they threaten, but because they impose respect. People feel, even without understanding, that there is something in them that cannot be manipulated. This aura is not bought, it is built. It is the result of emotional discipline, self-control, and consistency. Most seek to be loved and accepted. The strategist seeks to be necessary. While some chase attention, they become indispensable. They understand that power is when your absence weighs more than your presence. When others realize they need you, even if they do not like you. This is real influence. And perhaps this is the greatest teaching of all. Power is not in controlling others, but in controlling yourself in front of others. That is why true dominants seem calm. They are not calm because the world is easy. They are calm because they have already understood that chaos is inevitable. They do not fight against the waves. They learn to surf them. When you reach this state, the world stops being a threat and becomes a chessboard. You stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start thinking, "How can I use this to my advantage?" This is the transition from victim to strategist, from pawn to player, from observed to observer. And at this point, fear stops being an obstacle and becomes a compass. Fear shows where power is. Everything that scares you contains a key. Fear of public speaking reveals the desire for recognition. Fear of loss reveals attachment. Fear of confrontation reveals dependence. The strategist analyzes their own fear, like a scientist analyzes a phenomenon. They dissect it until turning it into a tool. And when the mind becomes aware of this process, something new is born. Sovereignty, the ability to not react but choose. The strength to stay calm when everyone loses control. The tranquility of those who know that every emotion is a piece in motion, and that only those who observe the entire board win. This sovereignty is what Machiavelli would call virtù, the practical excellence, the mastery of action. Virtù is not kindness, it is effectiveness. It is the ability to do what is necessary at the right moment with coldness and precision. And for that, it is necessary to abandon the myth of justice and embrace the reality of power. Because those who seek to be just in an unjust world will be destroyed by those who seek to be effective. In the end, what separates the dominant from the dominated is not morality, it is awareness. The dominant understood that the game exists. The dominated still believe it is optional, but whether you want it or not, you are in it. Every conversation, every decision, every gesture is a move on this invisible chessboard, and pretending you are not playing is the same as playing blindfolded. That is why the invitation is simple, but profound. Stop living as a piece, become a player. Stop waiting for justice, create power. Stop reacting, plan. Stop seeking to be liked, build respect. Because in the end, the world is not a tribunal, it is an arena. And in this arena, the prize does not go to those with the purest heart, but to those with the sharpest mind. Machiavelli did not write for the weak. He wrote for those who dare to look at the truth without filters, for those who prefer to be feared for their lucidity than loved for their naivety. And if you have come this far, perhaps you are ready for this. From now on, every choice of yours will be a move. Every silence, a weapon. Every look, a message. And when you realize that you do not need to shout to be heard, nor ask to be respected, you will understand what power is. The world will continue to be an arena, but you will stop being a spectator. You will become the strategist who observes chaos and turns it into opportunity. And when that happens, there will be no turning back, because those who see the hidden code of the human mind can never again pretend they do not know how to play. Be ruthless, be lucid, and govern yourself before someone governs you.